I wanted to talk about this guy right here. Excuse me if I mispronounce his name. Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm sorry, I'm not good with this name. But I've been seeing this guy everywhere recently. I'm just gonna call him Viv. I've been seeing this guy everywhere recently. I've seen him on, you know, cable news, like debating Fox News hosts, debating people, debating anyone he wants. His big pitch right now is he'll debate everyone. He's running for president, and he's going to show everybody new, innovative, conservative solutions to America's problems. That's his pitch, is that he's the new guy on the block. He's young, he's innovative. He doesn't really have any political experience, but he's throwing a lot of ideas out there. And a lot of the people who support him don't even seem to want him to be president, even though there are people who do generally want him to be president. They think he could beat Biden and put forward a better agenda than Trump or Ron DeSantis. A lot of people are supporting him, though, because he's throwing good ideas out there. And one of the ideas that he threw out there is an invasion of Mexico. And maybe I'm being a little too aggressive calling it an invasion, but in his mind, he wants to deploy American military personnel in Mexico to annihilate the Mexican drug cartels. And from the way he's phrased it in the past, it seems that he would be willing to do that with or without the approval of the Mexican government, which means, to me, it sounds like there's a scenario in his head where an invasion of Mexico is actually on the table, or what would be classified as an invasion, because I doubt the Mexican military would actually fight against American military force coming in. It would not end well, obviously. But either through drone strikes or other actions that are illegal under international law, he wants to intervene in Mexico in that way without the approval of the Mexican government. Now, I don't like the cartels. I'm very critical of the cartels. I think beheading people and murder is bad. Hot take. But if you're going to combat them, at the very least, if you're going to put forward this radical idea, and let's say it is radical to advocate for a direct military intervention in Mexico, something like that is already going to be difficult to get to succeed. But if you do get it to succeed, it will only be with the cooperation of the Mexican government and working joint hand in hand with them. Not doing stuff behind their back, not doing drone strikes in the middle of the night without letting them know, without any prior approval, illegal under international law. All that's going to do is make America look terrible in Mexico. It might even have an effect of martyring the cartels. If civilians end up dying, then it's not, in a joint operation. It was with an illegal American airstrike without the participation of the Mexican government. We're going to need people on the ground to help us out. And the Mexican government is going to be the best people to help us on the ground in a situation like this. I'm not even saying to do it. I'm just saying that if you are going to do it, you have to do it with the approval of the Mexican government. I can talk maybe a different day about why I am not super supportive of sending in the American military, at least at the time being. But I want to read his message that he put out about Ukraine and watch this video he put out, because something he said here really rubbed me the wrong way. In fact, it's not something he said here. It's the entire post, because it's based on complete nonsense. I've said countless times that I'm willing to use our military to annihilate Mexican drug cartels south of our border, if necessary. But now, it turns out that the U.S. military weapon that we sent to Ukraine, including Javelin anti-tank missiles and missile launchers, are ending up in the hands of the Mexican drug cartels south of the border. This is an embarrassment. I will restore basic strategic sense to our foreign policy, and that means gutting the existing establishment. Let's listen to what he has to say here.
So if you're like me, you're probably not going to believe what I'm about to say. But I've often said that I would use the U.S. military, if necessary, to annihilate the Mexican drug cartels south of our own border. What are we now seeing? U.S. military weapons, including Javelin anti-tank missiles and missile launchers, are now being used to arm the Mexican drug cartels south of our own border. I'm not kidding. Weapons that we have sent to Ukraine to protect somebody else's border halfway around the world end up south of our own border in the hands of narco-terrorist Mexican drug cartels. That shows how perverse our military-industrial complex and our foreign policy really is. It is an unvirtuous cycle of where the weapons we send abroad actually end up. Tomorrow night in New Hampshire, I'm laying out my vision and plan as U.S. president for how I would actually end the Ukraine war in a way that actually advances U.S. interests. Admittedly, people, including Republicans on both sides of this issue, have danced around specifics. I'm going to get really specific tomorrow night in New Hampshire in a speech. We're going to end that war, but more importantly, we're going to restore actual integrity to the U.S. military and the way that we use our resources instead of actually literally arming some of our greatest enemies south of our own border. And I'm going to lay out how we fix it.
Okay, so this is a crazy claim, is that aid that we sent to Ukraine ended up somehow, I guess, on some market somewhere, or in some way made its way to Mexico and then into the hands of the cartels to use against the American government or whatever their enemies are, be it American soldiers if we went through with this plan or something else. He's obviously very upset about it. He's now talking about it as a reason as to why we should, not send aid and we need to end the war and we're protecting somebody else's border. He goes to all the, usual talking points. And obviously I wanted a source for this, and he linked his source right below. Here it is. It's from firstpost.com. If you don't know what firstpost.com is, neither do I. It seems to just be a garbage random outlet on the internet. I doubt he even knows what First Post Online is. It's an unknown. It's just a garbage outlet. It's not like it's not respected. It's not known. And I'm going to show you exactly why it's a garbage outlet. U.S. Javelin missiles miss mark. Anti-tank missile meant for Ukraine lands up with Mexican gangster. Over the past year, more than 10,000 Javelin missiles have been sent to Ukraine from U.S. military stockpiles, resulting in dwindling supplies for the U.S. forces themselves. Now, it goes through all of this article, and it's a long article. Not really. It's like it's long when it's wrong. It's long, like if it's more than a paragraph and it's wrong, I don't feel like I should read it, because why? It's all based on nonsense. So let's just go directly to the proof they use. It is this video clip right here. I think I got it pulled up somewhere else. No, I don't. So we'll just watch it here. This is in Spanish, but basically, if you actually look at the Spanish post, what really gets me about this is in the Spanish post itself. And here's the video of them walking around with the javelin, quote unquote javelin. And here is a picture they provide, right here, of a javelin in the service of the Ukraine Armed Forces next to what this man's carrying. Now, that's not a javelin. And this is the picture, the website that he linked, sourced. You can see from right here, that isn't a javelin. Look at the picture on the left and then look at the picture on the right. These are completely different weapons. The weapon on the right is an AT-4 RPG style weapon, where you fire, you aim it at the target you want to fire at, it shoots at the target, blows up, you drop it, and you run. That's what the AT-4 is. We, the United States, as far as I know, have not been sending AT-4s to Ukraine, and I mean, there probably are AT-4s in Ukraine, but that's not a javelin. The story of this being a javelin or an AT-4 from Ukraine, nothing has been proven that this video, whatever he's holding, is from Ukraine, but it certainly isn't a javelin, so it can't be a javelin that we sent. You can see the difference just from looking at this picture. The picture on the website itself, where you can see the end on the left has a bigger plastic piece than on the right. I don't even need to get into the specifics of it, but the difference between the AT-4 and the javelin is that the javelin has an infrared guidance system, so you can fire it and it's not laser guided where you have to keep aiming at the target. So you can fire, drop it, and run, and it'll go towards the target, and it goes at the target from above. So you shoot at the target, then it goes towards the target, then it goes up, and then hits it from above, destroying a lot of these tanks that are not armored well on their tops. Their tops are not as armored as their fronts, which the AT-4 would be hitting if it was used in service from outside of like a high angle on some mountain or on the top of a high rise or something. So these are different weapons. They do different things. The javelin is more advanced, and the javelin's actually what we sent Ukraine. This is not a javelin. Here's one picture of a javelin, and here's a picture of it. You can see it's a different weapon. It's a totally different weapon. This guy took a totally unfounded story with no evidence. There's not even evidence that this, like, there's no documents or anything here showing that it came from Ukraine or anything. If you look at the original post itself in Spanish, as you can see here, I'm not going to open it up in a new tab. It says AT4 right there. AT4, it says it in the original source tweet that the article is using. It says AT4, not Javelin. AT4, it says it in the original tweet that they sourced, and he fell for it. In the picture, you can see it's not a Javelin that the article posted. In the video, you can see it's not a Javelin. The video source, the tweet that it came from, it says AT4 in Spanish. Maybe he didn't even want to attempt to read it since it was in Spanish. He was like, not my demographic, closed it, kept going. But this is complete nonsense. This is the guy who just said by the end of this video, in the end of this video, he says he's going to end the war in Ukraine. How is he going to end the war in Ukraine when he puts so little effort into doing any research about the war or what's actually happening with the funds that we're sending to Ukraine? How is he going to end the war if he can't do basic research and can't actually look at what we're providing the Ukrainians in order to support their efforts? He knows nothing about it. If he knew about it, then he wouldn't be making basic mistakes like this, where the articles he cites doesn't even have its story straight and contradicts itself with its own sources. This is the same guy who wants to lead U.S. troops into Mexico if necessary. Would you trust this guy to take your cousin or your brother or your uncle or your father, give them a gun and send them into Mexico? I wouldn't trust him. If this guy was the person leading an American military response in Mexico, it'd be like the Russian advance on Kiev. They'd get ambushed. They'd get torn to shreds. If he had any say in it, guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it. Man, what a mess. Anyway, this is the amount of research that he puts into this topic. This isn't the only politician that has put this low level of research into this topic. Another person running for president, RFK, also puts a low amount of effort into this topic. When researching it, he repeated on Tucker Carlson's show that for every one Russian that dies, 7 Ukrainians die on the battlefield when it comes to soldiers. Completely made up, completely fabricated data. He just believed some blurry screenshot he saw on Twitter. This type of stuff seems to be a problem with candidates running for office, criticizing American aid. They criticize American aid while fundamentally understanding nothing about it.